Yes, people, welcome back to another video where today we're talking about England number 10, Morgan Rogers, because he's had a bit of a slow start to the season. But now, are we starting to see Morgan Rogers do things that he was doing last year? Are we starting to see the young midfielder get his confidence back under Unai Emery? Because look, he did really perform last season. I would probably say overachieved in terms of what people expected from Morgan Rogers. He's got himself out there in the limelight now. He's now an England international under Thomas Tuchel. And people are probably expecting Morgan Rogers to kick on, especially because what he done last season, getting obviously Aston Villa back into Europe, 8 goals, 10 assists, 18 contributions in 37 games. That is very good for basically a debut season, as in a full debut season in the Premier League. But the 23-year-old is still young. Yes, he's not started the season as much as, as good as he would want to. But the thing is, sometimes you got to give it time, because I think when you can see players like Morgan Rogers and what they do with their ball carrying, their goals, their creativity, the hustle and bustle, he's very strong, robust. He gets in them at central areas and he wants to get the ball. He's brave. I think that they're going to come back into form. But I think from a Villa standpoint, it's more looking at it as like, Ollie Watkins, Morgan Rogers. You've got Telemans out. You've got Onana out. There's been a lot of people that are key to Aston Villa, either not firing or been injured. And they had a tough start to the season. But at the moment, Aston Villa, 5 wins in all competitions, going to Tottenham Hotspur and winning on the weekend. You're looking at them now and thinking, okay, something is starting to tick, because there were some people that starting to question Unai Emery. And people might say, you're bonkers, you're mad. No, this is football. Sometimes with managers, you think, okay, have you hit the peak? Have you hit the climax? Is that it? Is it just slowly down from here? Because Unai Emery's a very, what should I say? He's a very out there manager. He's on the dugout. He's on the touchline. He's shouting instructions. He's calling out players. He's calling out the team. Not thinking, is this what the European style sort of manager is doing? That's then basically going to get himself sacked. We all know as well that the sporting director, Monkey, who we had a close relationship with at Sevilla, we know that he's left the club. And Villa are changing things upstairs as well, which some fans are happy with. But then you thought, with Monkey leaving, would that now mean, Unai Emery's thinking about his future? But no, it seems like that change of Monkey going out, they've changed the hierarchy. They're trying to change a different bit of culture upstairs. It might help. And sometimes it's not just on the pitch. Sometimes it's off the pitch where teams can be struggling. We've seen it with Manchester United, as you can see. I'm a Man United fan. People don't like the Glazers. People want the Glazers out, and still do. And I completely understand it. But obviously, with the Jim Ratcliffe coming in and some of his team like Jason Wilcox-Barrard and stuff, you're thinking, okay, they're more footballing people. They've changed something upstairs. So hopefully that can now start meaning more better performances on the pitch, better recruitment. And maybe Aston Villa might head in a different direction under this new regime, and it could work with or without Unai Emery. However, Aston Villa have been winning their recent games. And that 2-1 win away at Spurs was a fantastic result. Goals from Morgan Rogers, and a goal from Emil Buendia, who came off the bench. But what a pass and what a touch from Lucas Digne his way. That whole goal, the second goal for Aston Villa, was pure class. And that is a big result for Aston Villa. But when you look at Morgan Rogers in terms of himself as an individual, so far 8 games, 1 goal, 2 assists. He hasn't been the Morgan Rogers so far last season, but I feel like we're starting to see glimpses now. We're starting to see moments of what he can bring to Aston Villa this season, exactly what he did last year. So now, that's why I put the title, Morgan Rogers is coming, because I'm seeing it early. I'm seeing that he's finding that confidence. I'm seeing that he's doing the things that he was doing last year. And also Aston Villa are winning games. And merging that together, that is what Aston Villa are about. I feel like Aston Villa are that type of team where you need your 3 key players to start standing up and being, counted for on that pitch. And I think the big thing for Morgan Rogers, who is actually helping him, is that he's got now the midfield behind him as well. Onana, I think some people are with him, some people are against him, but he's a physical presence. He's there. He's comfortable on the ball. He can also get up and down the pitch. I think having him back, the Belgian international, is important as well, because he started against Tottenham with Kamara in midfield. And when you look at that midfield now of Kamara and Onana, I thought like Aston Villa haven't really had that this season. It's been Bogard, it's been Telemans, it's been McGinn, It's been a bit mishmashy. It's not been the physical sort of dominant type of players that you would see with Aston Villa last season. And Onana and Kamara are definitely imposing. They're definitely harder to break through. They definitely give Aston Villa a bit of steel. And I think that's definitely benefiting them now and going to benefit them in this run they're going to go into, because it kind of gives Morgan Rogers that license to be himself more in the 8 role, more in the 10 role, because Boubacar Kamara, we already know, is a defensive, more style midfielder. He likes to sit in front of the back four. He likes to destroy play and then give it to his midfielders. Onana, he does a bit of everything, if I'm totally honest. He can break up play. He can pass. He can arrive late for set pieces. He can arrive late in the box. He kind of is that complementary player alongside Kamara, and they kind of merge well. And then you've got Rodgers, who does a bit of everything in terms of scoring, creating, can drop deep, can drive with the ball. That's a very good 3-man midfield. And when I'm looking at Aston Villa now and the direction they're heading in so far this season, this is where their fans can definitely be upbeat, because I feel like these players that are coming back are actually helping Morgan Rodgers. You know, you've got Gasson, who's finding his rhythm. You know, he's not scoring many goals, but he's staying consistently fit, and Unai Emery likes him. You've got John McGinn working hard on that left-hand side. You've got Ross Barkley and Ben Dia now coming back into fitness, coming back into a bit of form. So when you look at where Aston Villa have been struggling in terms of the squad depth, now you're starting to see that depth returning. And I think that's going to benefit players like Ollie Watkins, like Morgan Rodgers, allowing them to be further forward, allowing them to be creative and trying to score goals. And I think now, if Morgan Rodgers can get back into the form he was showcasing last season, and these players like Kamara and Onana that can stay fit, Aston Villa will be fine. Aston Villa will be fine. And I think the form that they've shown in the last few weeks shows that, you know, they're looking fine at the moment. Let's be honest. You know, you look at Aston Villa and you're not really questioning what's going on with them, whereas a few weeks ago, you really was. Look at their last results. 2-1 against Tottenham, 2-1 against Burnley at home, 2-0 against Feyenoord away, 3-1 win home against Fulham, and a 1-0 win at home against Bologna. None of them games are particularly just a walkover, except Burnley, you'd say. You know, Tottenham, Feyenoord, Fulham, Bologna, they're all tough in their own little ways. And Villa have been finding ways to win those games, both home and away. Now, you look at their league run, they've obviously got, you know, City coming up. They've got Liverpool away, and then they've got Bournemouth at home. Now, they're 3 games where you are going to be tested in 100% physically, 100% mentally. The City game is, can you stop Erling Haaland? I don't know if they can do that. But one thing I can say is that I believe that Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rodgers, from an attacking standpoint, can get at that City defense. But who wins that game? Probably City. But it's a good way for Aston Villa to showcase and test themselves after coming off a good run. And then you go into the Liverpool game away at Anfield. Now, that might be the perfect timing to play Liverpool. Who knows? But Aston Villa, sit back deep, contain them. Mings, Konsa, Kamara, Nana, make it difficult, stifle them. And then Watkins, Rodgers, Donyell Marlin, them type of players spring on the break, quick, counter-attacking transition football. That might be a game where Aston Villa actually see quite a lot of joy. Whether they're mentally strong enough to tough it out and get through the 90 minutes, we will see. But this is very much an interesting period for Aston Villa that they're now entering, coming off the back of 5 wins in a row, going into these tough Premier League games. But one thing that I have noticed is that Morgan Rodgers is looking like he's on his way back. A great goal as well against Tottenham, by the way, just touching on that. That was a brilliant finish. The way he got it out his foot and just lashed it into the top corner. You could say Vicario's positioning was a bit, but when you look at Morgan Rodgers, that was the sign of a player that feels like he's confident to take that on 25 yards out and hit it straight into the back of the net. And I think maybe even Thomas Tuchel, selecting him for England, giving him minutes, them type of things taking you away from that environment and bringing you into something fresh can just freshen you up mentally. And it looks like it actually helped, because England obviously won their games. Morgan Rodgers has contributed. He got his first competitive goal for England. As a player, I think growing up as a kid, that's your dream, to play for England, win football matches and score a goal. So you're going to be buzzing. You're going to be on a high. And he seemed to have carried that international mentality back to Aston Villa, where they've scored and obviously beaten Tottenham on the weekend. So, you know, things are working for Morgan Rodgers off the pitch and on the pitch at the moment. And I think he's coming back and showcasing some of the form that we saw last season. Still a bit early days, but I'm catching the worm early, as they say. So let's see Morgan Rodgers on his way back for Aston Villa. Make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side on the way to 5K. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it.